Welcome to episode 31 of the 24-Hour Hustle Show. And today we got special guest, founder and business owner of Nikki's Magic Wand, Nicole Manns. Welcome to the 24-Hour Hustle Show. I'm your host, Anthony Freeze, and this is the show where we are finding out where people are maximizing on our 24 hours and where they get the chance to share their story, their struggle, and also their success. Also, if this is your first time finding out about us, definitely subscribe to the channel and also see amazing videos and also great stories that have been shared on the show as well. But today, we got Nicole Manns in the building.
Hello.
I've seen a lot of things that you've been doing. You've been highly recommended to be on the show from, friends of mine and my mom. She's saying things that you
hilarious.
did. Oh yeah, she's like, you gotta get Nicole Manns on the show. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it, Mom. I got you.
I love
got
it.
you covered.
I love
So you're definitely making an impact in the city of Pittsburgh.
That's awesome.
So it's been highly influential, and I'm glad to be able to have you on the show to be able to share all your wealth of information and knowledge. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you here. So one of the things that we always do on the show, just for anybody that may not know who you are yet, just give us your background, some of the things that have influenced you, and some of the things that you're doing and what Nikki's Magic Wand is all about.
Sure. So originally from Philly.
Okay.
Born and raised, came here to go to University of Pittsburgh, and I haven't left yet. It's not looking like I will be doing so, which is good. I love Pittsburgh. But I was a business major. Didn't know what kind of business or what the plan was, but by the time I graduated, HR was of interest to me. Ended up working at, first job though was not HR, worked at Horns, which I don't, you're too young to remember.
Nah.
Your mom will know.
Yeah, she probably will know.
Yes. So, but then we all got fired after like 4 months. Another company came in and bought Horns, which is a department store. And so I was just kind of out there, ended up working at the federal government as a compliance officer, and that's compliance with affirmative action and equal employment opportunity. So did that for about 11 years, and it felt like it's time for a change. So ended up over at Mellon and in their affirmative action compliance area. And I'm actually there now as the manager of the group. Been there 12 years, and so it's under the umbrella of HR. So I ended up in HR, but kind of in an unconventional way. So back in 2009, I've always been a bit of a lip gloss fan. Not a big makeup maven, but love the gloss deal, and had just bought some. Could not get any more out, and I had only owned it for about a couple weeks. And so was on the phone with my best friend, and who is now my business partner, and said, "This is so frustrating. I just bought this. I need to invent something to get this out." And she said, "You should," and it's called Nikki's Magic Wand, just like all in the same breath, which was weird. And so, a lot of times we have ideas, we think of struggles we're having, but typically don't take an action because you feel like, oh, somebody's probably already thought of that, or even taking an action would just be too tall of a hill to climb. But I did go home and sketch something up. I ended up submitting it to a licensing company because, quite frankly, I didn't understand, nor did she. Neither one of us had created anything of what to do. We didn't know about prototypes. We didn't know about manufacturers. We didn't know about patents or anything. So looked up, good old Google, and went and just put, sort of, I don't even know what I would have typed in, but came up with a licensing company that promised to take your idea and do all that legwork, fund it even, and say, we found you the manufacturer, we can connect you with the patent office, we can do all of that. And at the end of the day, once they put all of that into the product, they own 30% of it and you own 70%. So I said, well, that sounds like a great deal. I don't know the rest of this stuff, so let's do it.
And what was the name of this place?
Lambert and Lambert. They're actually out of Minneapolis.
Okay.
And I do send a lot of people to them because I found them to be very reputable, and I'll tell you why in a second. they put the product, they put Nikki's Magic Wand, or the concept of it, it didn't exist yet, through a very detailed evaluation. They looked at the market. They actually really loved it. They said there's nothing out here like it. It's safe. It works. It's something that the public needs. But it scored just shy of their point system for them to fully fund it. And so, for $199, you can get them to evaluate your idea. It's no big loss to you because you feel like this is a company who does this all day long. They will find out if this works, if it doesn't, whatever, for $200. I mean,
that's not bad at all.
Exactly. Where can you get someone to really opine on what you have in your mind, and then you can either go forward or you cannot. So, but they came back, and the reason why I say I recommend them is because they came back and they said, we really like it, but we just had some concerns in some areas, and kind of Godspeed. To me, if they were just out for cash, they would have taken it on anyway. They would have said, let's just do it and we'll see where it goes, and just to continue to pump money out of me, but they didn't.
They gave you like some good advice and things like that.
They did, but they basically released me. Like, they kicked me out of the nest. Like, okay, go. We'll figure it out, sis. I don't know what they're gonna do. And that was in 2010, right after I had the idea. They had it about a couple months to evaluate it. And it was an interesting time in my life. This happens a lot to people as well. I had just been promoted to manager at Mellon, and BNY Mellon, and I really didn't have the mental capacity to work on Nikki's Magic Wand. I didn't know what my next step was supposed to be. I didn't know if it was manufacturing, prototype, patent office. I didn't know. So real quick,
were you even selling anything at this point? Was it already made, or was it just still in the idea phase?
It was in my head.
Okay.
It was still in my head, yeah. But I felt strongly enough about it to say I didn't want it to die, even though Lambert & Lambert had said, no thanks, thanks but no thanks, which that early rejection was so key because it got it out of the way for me, and it let me understand the power that comes when your path changes. So what I mean by that is Lambert & Lambert would have owned 30% of the company had they taken it on. Had they taken it on for real, or had they taken it on for play, they would have owned 30% of it. Now, 2 black women own this company, 100%. And so I needed that rejection. I needed that to come early. I needed to feel what that felt like and deal with it early, so that I would know down the line, no, good things come out of rejection.
Oh, yeah.
They really, really do. So I sat Nikki's Magic Wand down in 2010 because I had become the manager in my 9 to 5. It was the first time I had ever managed people. I wanted to make sure I did an excellent job at it. And so I didn't feel like I had the bandwidth to give to Nikki's Magic Wand, not knowing anything. I mean, literally starting from scratch of just what to do. So it sat for the bulk of 2010. And I'll tell you what lit a fire. My business partner, her father is the dean of business down at, where was he? It doesn't matter now. Anyway, he said to her, what is going on with Nikki's Magic Wand? And she said, well, Nick's busy with her 9 to 5. And he said, tell her I'll give her $1,500 for the idea.
Really?
And I was like, nope. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, wait a second. I'll get back on this. Let me get back on this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he meant it or if he meant to light a fire, but either way, it lit a fire. And so one day, I just typed in manufacturers in Pennsylvania, because I figured if I could find one in Pennsylvania, how amazing would it be to watch this come off the conveyor belt, and be able to be there. So it printed out 6 pages, and I literally just started calling one by one. And
so how many people would you say you called?
Oh gosh. So I don't think I got through all 6 pages.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got through the first, but what I was finding, let's say there were 10 on each page. What I was finding was when I would describe what it was. First of all, in my head, I had, older, kind of dirty, bald men answering this phone. I'm thinking factories, manufacturing. And when I began to describe what I wanted them to create, I was really surprised at how many of them immediately responded, "Oh yeah, I see my wife struggle with that. I see my sister struggle with that. Oh yeah, yeah." But the common theme was, we don't do small plastics. We don't do small plastics. I'm not sure who you should call, but we don't do small plastics. A lot of times people wouldn't call back. A lot of times people wouldn't answer. But I ended up getting a company right here in Western Pennsylvania. I cannot remember the name now, but the gentleman was so kind, and he said, "You know, we don't do that, but I can." He made up, I should have brought it with me. He made up a huge Nikki's Magic Wand, like it was 3D printed.
Okay.
And he made that up, and he sent it to me, and he said, "You know, there's a place out near Philly called Protocam that could probably do a prototype for you. There's a guy there named Ray. Call him." So I call Ray at Protocam, and Ray's all gruff, like, "Yeah, what do you want? What do you need?"
This is like your first impression of him?
Exactly.
Like, oh, this may not go good.
Exactly. So Ray's like, "What do you need?" I said, "Hey, Ray." And I'm just trying to be syrupy sweet on the phone. "So I was referred to you as the expert. I hear you're amazing at what you do." I know he was like, "Get to the point." So I told him what I needed, and he said, "Yeah, we can do that." He said, "But you got to give me something. I need AutoCAD drawings. I need what this thing should be made out of. You're not telling me anything. You're telling me something that's on a piece of paper. I can't put that, into my products or into
make
my
it physical
machines." Exactly. So he said, you need a design consultant. And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "We work with a guy named Vince, and he's out of Exton, PA. Call him." So I called Vince, and what was cool was, as soon as I had my first conversation with Vince, and Vince said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we do that. Send me your pictures. Send me the problem in this," because I had written up. It was all drawn,
right,
with my stick figure level drawing.
And you drew this yourself?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was basically, here's the problem. I drew a lip gloss tube, and there was product in the bottom and product in the top, and I drew the applicator in there that was too short to reach the bottom collected product. And then I drew a very rough thing of Nikki's Magic Wand, which is funny. At that time, I had it with like a push button deal to eject it. Yeah, I had it doing all kind of fancy stuff. But I sent that, and then he asked me for empty lip gloss tubes and half-empty lip gloss tubes. And so I sent him some that I had that I didn't want to let go of, because a lot of women have drawers of these products. It's like your favorite color, and you're like, how am I going to get this out? They're in there with bobby pins and all of that. So what ended up happening was I sent Vince those items, and then he wrote up a proposal, and he said, "Well, this is what we'll do. I will go out and get prototypes for you. I will go out and find manufacturers to do this. I will craft the first one, design it, tell Ray at Protocam what the plastic should be, what the tip should be, all of that information." So
she got one on hand.
Whip it right out.
Right.
So things like what this should be made out of, how much this should bend, if this should have give, it should be stiff. There's a gusset. Show
that camera a little bit just so I can see.
Yep.
Either her one specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Doing quick little demos here.
Yes. So how much bend it should have. How much we made this. They sent me a bunch of these different tips. Some of them were very hard. Some were soft. I wanted this to be soft so that you could go into your product, moisturizer, foundation, lip gloss, and be able to go right to your face with it if you wanted to. There's a gusset in here because we wanted to make sure that this couldn't come away or wouldn't come away from the cap. And so there is a gusset in here that Vince designed that made sure that it would hold into this cap firmly. So all of those different aspects to think of, how should this lip be? Do we want it to screw on? Do we want it to snap on? So we ended up with a snap.
Okay.
The tube, all of those items to think about. And then the aesthetics of it, how it looks, that was a whole other conversation. Yeah, but Vince did it. That was a lot of money. The design consultant was thousands of dollars. And then the first prototype, which was a little sad looking little thing. Oh my God. I ended up breaking it, just demoing it.
Was that your first one?
It was my very first one. But that prototype was $800 because...
Jeez, just for the one?
Just for, well, it was two. So my business partner got one as well. I got one. But it was, I mean, when I tell you the flimsiest little thing, Anthony, and the reason why it was that way is because they had to make a mold to make it. And so, you know, it wasn't like, oh, we already got something to
right.
So it cost.
Because this was the first of its kind.
First of its kind, yeah, first of its kind. So I mean, there was definitely a lot of cash involved with, you know, starting this out, and then different things. You know, there's so many different pockets of things to think about, right? So there's not just what it's going to look like, if it's going to work. Do people need it? I did a survey initially before, when I still had my little broken one. I did a survey. It was like a 12-question thing, and it was basically, do you have this problem? How much would you pay for something to fix it? You know, those kinds of things. Because I said, why go this far? I realized, you know, how expensive this and time-consuming this was going to be for this dream if no one else but me wanted it.
Right.
So... yeah.
So you did some serious research and development there.
I did. I did. And then I needed to find somebody to help me with branding. I needed to find out, what should the Nikki's Magic Wand logo look like? What colors do we want to pick? So we ended up with black and gold. You know, gotta love Pittsburgh.
There you go.
And yes. And then also, I wanted it to be sleek. I didn't want it to look... there are other products out there that scoop out things, but they look like kitchen products.
Right.
I wanted mine to look like a cosmetic product.
Right. And it does.
Thank you. And so we went with a high gloss black. This has a UV painting over top of it. We ended up, we wanted a muted gold. You wouldn't imagine how many golds there are. So we had to choose.
To me, there's only one, but I'm pretty sure there's a ton.
Yes, yeah. So you got to choose which gold you want. So, you know, lots of things. And that's before you stick it on anybody's shelf, before you get anybody to buy it. Loads of decisions to make.
Awesome. So let's get into maybe even some of some of the struggles that you felt like you may had, and like, how did you overcome some of those? Because somebody that may be trying to create their own original product, you're actually the second person we've had on that created their own original product.
Awesome.
So that is good stuff.
Yeah.
So what are like some of the challenges that you face and that were like really big and good lessons that you learned, and how can someone else also learn from those challenges as well?
So anything that you do, whether it's a product or service that you're attempting to provide, you're a caterer, you're a cleaning, you have a cleaning business, any of it, there's going to be so much to learn if it hasn't been, say, a family business, right? If it hasn't been something that's been in your cells. Everything that you do, you're learning, right? I mean, we're all learning different ways to tweak things, different ways to, what setting should we have the mic on? What setting, where should the cameras be, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
It's constant, right? So I think for me, personally, I had been in corporate America for a very long time, federal government and corporate America. That stuff had come easy to me by the point that this came about. It was difficult for me to feel like I was completely clueless about this. And it was a lot at stake because it was my dream. I genuinely felt that God had given me this idea because, I didn't have to have that. There are plenty of people that go through life and just say, oh, somebody else will come up with that. And so something kept nagging at me to keep moving. And so I would say, Anthony, the biggest struggle I had was to stay on track and stay focused about the fact that I really, really felt the world needed this when there were so many other distractions. I'm distracted now all the time. I mean, whether it's Facebook or my kids or, or crime shows, which I'm a little bit addicted to. When I probably should be on my laptop. It's distractions. It's at some point you're going to run out of capital. That's a big one, right? So figuring out how not to go into major debt but continue moving. Marketing costs money. You never get to a point where, sure, you get to a point where it's cruising along, but never cruise control.
Right.
And so the struggles can be very lengthy. However, I will say to anybody watching, It's so worth it. It's so worth it when you have something, and even if it's not something that's never existed before, because that's really exciting, right? To be able to make your mark on the world and deliver something to the world that didn't exist before. But even if that's not the case, even if you are adding something that already exists, but you're putting your own spin on it,
you're innovating something that already exists.
Exactly. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. My life, I can't really put into words how different and how rich my life has been since adding this aspect of entrepreneurship to a corporate America lifestyle. I assumed I'd be rocking chairs, Social Security card, 65, which, preferably that'll still be the case with a great long career with BNY Mellon. But what I will say is the people that I've met, the opportunity to be on 24-Hour Hustle Show, I mean, these are things that would just have never happened had I not either had the idea originally or pursued it at all. Had I dropped it in 2010, paid my business partner's father or let him pay me $1,500, just it would have been a world I wouldn't have been included in, and I can't imagine that now. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, pursue your passion. I mean, if there's something that you're passionate about and it's nagging at you all the time, it's always in the back of your mind. It's something that you're always focused on. Like that's the biggest sign that you should definitely pursue it. So sure. I totally know what you mean. I totally feel what you're saying. So let's talk about some of those great things and opportunities that you have been able to do by creating this product. One of the biggest is you've been on QVC multiple times.
Yes.
Tell us the story. How did you get the opportunity to be on QVC? Because that's a big deal.
Thank you. It is a big deal. I don't take it for granted at all. So what happened was, it's interesting. The gentleman who I mentioned, Vince, the design consultant, he had asked me early on, before the wand existed, he said, have you heard that QVC has a Sprout program? And that is where people who have new products of their own, they own them. So it wouldn't be somebody, selling Avon or something, not long-standing products. Yeah. These are products that didn't exist before. They have a program where how it works is if you get into the program, you will enter a competition with 2 other products. They'll put you online, qvc.com/sprouts, and they'll put you on there, and then people vote for your product. Like, the world gets to see which 3 products are going against each other. And so people get to vote. And so, you go out and say, please vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. And if you win, you get a purchase order on QVC.com. And so what happened was I said, let me apply to this, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was hilarious, Anthony, was initially I applied. I didn't know how to, it was like 4 questions. I didn't know how to answer the questions. It was things.
Do you remember what it was?
I do. Like, one of them was like, what is your wholesale price? I was like,
right.
What is your retail price?
Okay. So some of these things you didn't figure out yet.
No,
okay.
I didn't. I had no idea what they were.
So what year was this?
This was 13.
Okay.
Yep, I had launched in no. This was before 13 because I launched December of 12.
Okay.
And so my original submission to QVC was like June of 2012.
Okay.
So the wand was not in my hand yet. It was designed, but it wasn't in my hand yet, and so I hadn't priced it yet.
Okay.
Any of that. And so when I applied, originally jumping the gun, and QVC was like, girl, go. Girl, bye. No, you can't even answer these questions.
Right.
I don't think so. So fast forward, launched in 2012. About a year later, decided to apply again. So I applied again. And I'm telling you, Anthony, it's almost like they had their hands hovering like I did. I pressed send, they said no. Right.
It was like, nope.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Said no. Okay. I mean, that email came quick. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
It's like, we've seen this name before.
Exactly. Get out of here. So what's interesting was that summer I had gotten through the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence through the University of Pittsburgh. I had been connected with them, and they're amazing. They give you business advice and really help you grow your business, start your business. So they worked together to help me get an intern. So I get an intern who was a Pitt student, a young man, and he was awesome. He was. I told him what I needed. I need to spread the word. I had him sort of in charge of reaching out to bloggers, because that's something that you really need for cosmetic. You know, you need people talking about your product. And so unbeknownst to me, he applied to Sprout again about a week after the send reject.
Yeah.
And I got an email that said, "Hey, we're interested in your product." I still to this day, Andy, don't know what he wrote.
Right.
But his answers were clearly far better than mine. And so began the process. They asked for the wand. I sent them the wand. They tried to break it. Like, you know, they have it. They put it through their quality testing, and they decided to put me up against 2 other competitors in September of 13. And then, so this was not even a year after we launched, December of 12, and we won. How about this though? I'm desperately waiting for an email, right, to see what were the results of the voting. And it said, the initial email said we came in second. And I was like, oh, man. And so me, Facebook addict, I went and I said, "Hey, guys, thank you so much for voting. It ends up we came in second, but you guys are amazing, blah, blah, blah." About 10 minutes later, we get an email that says, "So sorry, you won." I was like,
That is amazing.
Yes.
That
and
is
so
awesome.
I go back to Facebook. I said, strike that. We won. And so we got a purchase order for 250.
Wow.
3 packs. Yeah, so 750 out the gate. Sold them. And what happened was, we sold out of those. We actually ended up selling out online 3 times.
Wow.
And then they came to me and they said, "We're really wanting to create some buzz around the Sprout program. We think we want to put you on TV." And I was like, "You want to do what?" So that was 15. June of 15 was my first time on QVC. We sold out. Sold out the entire request that they had, and I've ended up being on 5 more times.
Wow.
So 6 times total.
That is amazing. Now, is that program still out?
Is the
Sprout program?
Yes, I believe so.
If you got a product,
Yes.
This is good information right here. If you got your own product,
Yep.
definitely hit that up.
Hit that up.
That was good
And
stuff.
get my intern to write it for you, because
Right.
I don't.
So you're still in contact? I'm pretty sure you're still in contact with him.
You know what? I'm not anymore.
Oh, okay.
He graduated and everything, but I know his name. So
Okay.
if you need him to write it up for you, I see what he did. I can hook you up.
Connected on Facebook at all?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
for
that is an amazing story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is good
but
stuff.
See, that's rejection, right? So it's rejection again, and it's a timing thing as well, right? I wouldn't have been ready to compete for Sprouts when I first applied for it. I would never. I didn't even have the product,
Right.
so I wasn't supposed to get it then. And evidently, I wasn't supposed to get it the second time when I when I applied, when I thought I was ready. And it happened just as it was supposed to happen. It really, really did. And this whole process, owning this business, has taught me that if nothing else has. I mean, I'm a mother, which, you have to tell yourself a lot of times, this was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So you can sleep at night. But no, I don't think anything's taught me that like this business has taught me that. Yeah.
There's definitely magic in failure. Like, if you're able to take out the seeds of, great things and lessons that are in those failures, great things can definitely happen. Like, when we're in the moment of, those rejections and those failures, like, we do sometimes get a little bit down on ourselves.
Feel bad. Absolutely.
Yeah, they feel bad. But, when you're able to, take those lessons and you're able to bounce back as fast as possible and, learn from those different failures and struggles and rejections and things like that, you actually start to pull out those seeds of greatness out of those failure situations.
Well, and it's a muscle that you build. It really is, because I think initially when something bad happens, your response is to feel bad, and you should allow yourself that emotion. For me, the phrase that's always in my head is, how quickly can I fast forward? How quickly can I fast forward past this? I'm not injured. Everybody I know is healthy and safe. This is just, something didn't go the way I had planned. That doesn't mean I've seen evidence that greater things happen when other things don't happen. So when you have that evidence already, then you're like, you can fast forward, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's some good insight right there for sure.
Yeah.
I like that. So as far as like maybe some of the, future goals and future plans that you see with this, because I see this being a mega success. I mean, it's already successful, but even bigger. What are some of the big goals or plans that you see for Nikki's Magic Wand?
Yeah. So, that's funny you should ask that, because one thing that I've learned through so many different things is when you take a risk in one area, you're not as afraid to take risks in other areas, right? Mm-hmm. So this Nikki's Magic Wand journey has revealed certain interests of mine and certain strengths of mine that I would never have known were there, just working the daily grind, the 9 to 5 grind. So back in 2015, I released a book on career success, completely unrelated to entrepreneurship. But it was me getting those 20-something years of federal government work, corporate America work out into a book. Here's your script, keep your foot out of your mouth and your butt employed is the name of that. And shameless plug.
Is that available? Yeah, where's that available?
It's at Nicole, www.NicoleManns.com. And it's on Amazon as well.
Okay.
And so it is, I basically just put a lot of those controversial conversations you don't want to have with I want more money, I'm bored at this job, my coworkers suck, all those things.
We hear this every day.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
So I would like to fancy myself as someone who's a pretty decent communicator, and so I actually at the end of each chapter actually have an email in there that you can directly type into your computer that says, dear manager, blah 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 blah. So I'm writing that for you and structuring that for you, so you don't even have to think about it. It starts the conversation for you. But I say all that to say, what the future holds for me is I'd like to believe an array of things. They say those multiple streams, right? But it's not so much income. Income is certainly a wonderful byproduct of that. Mm-hmm. For me, it's making sure I'm using all of the different parts of my brain. Mm-hmm. And I know that I wasn't before Nikki's Magic Wand. And I know that working Nikki's Magic Wand added to it. But then that took away some of the fear of doing other things. So I had mentioned to you a collaboration with my personal trainer and a friend who is a therapist, Fit Fab Fear. So, combine addressing the mind, body, and soul of moving forward. We're doing newsletters with that. Definitely expanding Nikki's Magic Wand. In addition to the cosmetic tool of the wand itself, back in 2015 added cosmetic products, so lip glosses and matte glosses and those kinds of things that have been very, very popular, thankfully. People would like a longer one of these for lotions and shampoos. Our only hesitancy right now is, you have to make a decision about those dollars. So the capital that we have or revenue we have, do we want to put that into more marketing? Do we want to put it into another mold? The mold for this little thing was $16,000.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So guessing that the mold, just taking a guess, for a longer one, it won't have a cap because it won't need to. It would stay home since it's for shampoo and that kind of stuff. But, we're probably talking $10,000 still.
Now, real quick, did you, raise any money for this to get this capital?
Yeah. So,
okay.
No.
Oh, you haven't?
I didn't.
Okay.
No. So what we ended up doing was, and Susie Orman would have a fit, no. So when I left the government, I actually had some cash, and it's one of those pots that you're not supposed to touch. And I asked myself a very simple question. I said, Nikki, how would you feel if you lost every dime of this? Your choice is to take a chance and spend this, because I didn't really want to do loans. I didn't want to do all of that. I had this little pot, and I was working full time, so it wasn't going to affect any food or shelter, or have it sitting there and never know if you could have been successful at that business. And it took me about 10 seconds to say, nah, we're going for it. So that's what I did. That's how I funded it. I've taken little $5,000 loans out from the credit union, different things like that. That's to get me started. When I first started Nikki's Magic Wand, I had about $2,500 in savings, and just because I had been told that the patent was going to run about the span was $6,000 to $13,000, I was like, okay, that's big.
Yeah.
So I just said, let me go get 5,000 more, that kind of thing, and that was before I had decided I wanted to touch that other money. But yeah, we're in no debt at all.
Awesome. Well, that's good.
Yeah, we're in no debt at all, and we funded it. My business partner was supposed to go to law school, so her dad had a pot of cash. The one who wanted to buy it for $1,500.
Gotcha.
He had a pot of cash for her to go to law school, and she chose not to. So that was her portion of the capital. So yeah, so we're in good shape. We're miserly. We're very like, okay, put $12 over there. Yeah. Although, you know what, we've spent a lot of money on things that didn't work out. Honestly, we've done a lot of PR firms, $5,000, $7,000 a pop. That you think they're going to blow you up.
So like, what different places have you been featured in? Yeah.
So we've paid thinking, oh, we're going to get on the front of this glossy magazine. We're going to get in Allure magazine. We're going to get here and get there, and they made small headway. The return on investment was not what you would expect, and I'm talking thousands of dollars, just with like 3 different firms, thinking this is what's going to blow you up. And you learn from that. You learn from that. Had we still been sitting on, say, $15,000 just sitting in the bank, we wouldn't have known if we could have taken that 15 and turned it into 50, 60. You don't know until you try.
Right.
And so while it feels like, oh my God, I spent all that money, you have to spend it at some point. You have to spend some of it, because you won't know. And the organic word of mouth build gives out at some point. So one thing that was another lesson for me was, you always dream of doing the glossy mag. I'm still coming for Oprah's favorites list. That is the goal. That is hashtag goals for sure. But I'll tell you what happened. So Real Simple, you've seen that magazine or heard of it. Yeah. Very, very, very popular. Wanted to be in the pages of it. Ended up landing on our 6 things that'll change your life is their feature, and it comes out in email. So I'll tell you what happened, Anthony. One day I'm walking down the street at lunchtime. I get notifications what people buy on the website right to my phone. Yeah,
it's a good feeling. I know what that feels
you
like.
know what that feels like.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful feeling. So I'm getting one at 12, 12:02, 12:04, 12. I mean, they don't ever come in like that, right? So I call my business partner. I'm like, did you do something? What did you do? Did you advertise? She lives in Atlanta. Did you advertise somewhere I don't know about? She said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So I decided to go in, log into my little PayPal, grab an email from someone and say, hi, thank you so much for your recent order. Just wondering, where did you hear about us? And she said, the Real Simple article that came out this morning. And so...
And this was in the email form?
It was in the email form. So while I was so desperate to be in those glossy pages, it was actually better to be on their .com site, because it's all... you're just touching. You're touching. If I got to remember to go back to this magazine, it's not going to happen. Right. But it literally comes in their email. People, Real Simple's very reputable. They trust that those products have been vetted, and that if Real Simple's putting their stamp on it, then they trust it. And those orders came in all day long.
I mean, that's also a real testament that, social media and the digital age that we're in right now is highly effective. Yes. I try to get as many people to, use social media and leverage that as much as possible. Create a newsletter. Definitely have a website. Yes. Because, that'll expand you so much further. Like, you're available at that point to everybody around the world. So
there literally would not be a Nikki's Magic Wand without Facebook. I mean, just Facebook alone, because I was able to, one of the things that I found important as I was starting this journey, people were intrigued by the inventor aspect of it. I still get that a lot, which is cool in Pittsburgh, and a black female inventor still feels rare in the city, I guess, which makes me feel good. But so I was getting a lot of questions. How'd you do it? What did you do? And so I started writing a blog. And I took people from literally almost the idea of it, the struggles with manufacturing, the shipping hasn't come, I'm nervous, what do? I can't find and so people felt very invested in that, and I was sharing that on Facebook. And so when it hit in December of 12, they went crazy in buying because they felt a part of it. They felt a part of the story. I would never have been able to share that without Facebook, ever.
Right.
Ever. I advertise my specials there. I advertise, those kinds of things. The QVC appearances. People who own millions of wands, I shouldn't say millions, but people who own wands still bought them on QVC when I said I was going to be on there just to support.
Right.
Just to say, I called in and I got it off of QVC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Have you ever, I don't know if you ever thought about this before, but I think it would be awesome. Like, have you ever thought about doing, like, videos for YouTube, like, just talking about your product and maybe doing, like, little tutorials or weekly episodes, maybe have guests come on, talk about the product, or...
Well, see, I feel like Anthony Freeze is the guy to talk to about this. Because I think mine would look very bootleg, and I think you could help me out.
Yeah, we absolutely could. That's something we can definitely talk about.
No, that's definitely one of those pockets that never got expounded upon, and something that we had been told very early on was really key in making headway, and it hasn't happened, quite frankly. And so, there's absolutely room for that to do.
Yeah, video in this day and age, especially whether you're on, like, YouTube or Facebook, or you got little clips on Instagram, or even stuff on your website, just to be able to add value to other people. This show, for example, bring guests on to be able to share their wealth of information and add value to other people, and then the people say, man, I got a lot of value out of this, I want to keep following. Absolutely. What else do they do? What else do they offer? Do they have products? So same thing with the Nikki's Magic Wand. If you're giving, like, little tutorials and you're just adding value to other people and you're doing it freely, people are going to start to think, can I actually buy that product? And you're thinking, absolutely. Link in the description.
Absolutely.
So,
we do have a YouTube channel. There are a few instructional videos there, but absolutely nothing like what it should be. And that's a fact. Nothing like what it should be. Never had the resources to get it done well and get it done properly. So that's absolutely an area that needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as we get closer to wrapping up, definitely an awesome conversation. We definitely got to do this again sometime.
For sure.
Because you're doing a lot of good things, and I feel like a recap episode just to see where you've gone, it'll be awesome.
I like it.
Where's the best place people can contact you, and where can people get this amazing product?
Sure. So nickismagicwand.com, and that is Nikkis. So Nikki's Magic Wand altogether.com. And if you want to email me, it's Nikki at nickismagicwand.com. Those are the best ways to get.
And what's the Facebook page name again? Is
Nikki's Magic Wand.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
You on Instagram at all?
I am on Instagram, and it's weird. We got I don't even know how this happened. Got locked out of my Instagram, so we had to. It was so
going too crazy on the hashtags or something.
I don't know what happened. But it's Nikki's Magic Wand 2, the number 2.
Okay.
But it used to be just Nikki's Magic Wand, wouldn't make perfect sense. But now it's Nikki's Magic Wand and number 2. So.
I feel like that would be an awesome avenue as well, just to have, like, nice little snapshots and stuff like that, things that you can utilize the product for, like. There's a lot of big potential with this.
There
is. The gears in my mind are starting to turn a little bit.
I'm liking it.
So last question. One of the things that we do on the show, like I mentioned before, is we do a 24-hour challenge.
Yes.
So what is a challenge that you would propose to the audience that are watching this episode right now that they can actually take action on in the next 24 hours?
Take action on in the next 24 hours. No, we're not giving them 48. We're giving them 24.
Yeah, we got to put a time limit on it.
We're giving them 24. So, you know what? I was just reading something recently that said to take assessment, and this is actually from a video from Sharice Nance. Take assessment of, because all of the pieces of your life really will speak to your whole life, right? So take assessment of different areas that you feel you could use some improvement in. So you might make a category, and so you have to do this. Get a category for fitness, business, spiritual health, mental health. Start that list in 24 hours just to see where you feel like you're okay, where you feel like you need to make some improvements, and then begin to craft out exactly in those, don't try to do everything at once. That's one of the biggest mistakes that we do. Oh, my life's a mess. I need to quit my job and leave my husband, and you know what I'm
right.
You want to do it all at once. Don't do that. But make a list, make an honest assessment of all of those different, like I said, career, hobbies, children, fitness, mental health, and really see, pull one out of there and say, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on in the next couple months. I'm going to focus on reading more. I'm going to focus on finding a counselor. I'm going to focus on starting that book. Really take a real assessment of the different aspects of your life and begin to take some action. Awesome.
Well, I'm gonna, definitely say this to the camera. So if that is a list that you create in the next 24 hours, you can at least create the list.
The list, just a list.
At least just create the list. If you create that list, definitely take a picture of it, share it with us. We want to see it. Yes. We want to engage with you. We want to see if you're getting value out of it. So, at least create the list, and then you can start working on that, every day as much as possible, just to improve in those different areas. So sure. I think that's an awesome challenge. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate you coming on to the show. Much. We definitely got to do this again. I appreciate all the wealth of information and knowledge that you shared today. Definitely a lot of good stuff in there. I'm watching this one multiple times.
Yes. I can't wait to see what you carve out.
So it'll definitely be good for sure. So So now that we know what Nikki does with her 24 hours, we want to know what you do with your 24 hours. Definitely comment. Take on that challenge. Share all your, information with us as much as possible so we can see you taking action on the great information that Nikki has shared today. Definitely subscribe, turn on notifications, and we will see you on the next episode.